let's talk about language for a minute. So you were speaking Yiddish all day at school, and what was being spoken in your home?
The different languages.
With your friends?
Let me try to map the day and the space in that day. In school there was Yiddish, and Yiddish was spoken in different classes that we took and with different teachers, but there was also lots of Spanish. We had teachers in Spanish, and when we went to play soccer, we would play in Spanish. So we knew in Yiddish school that we were bilingual, and we knew perfectly, and I say this with a sense of wonder and puzzlement, we knew perfectly which language belonged to what moment of the day into which classroom. And I say this with this puzzlement because I don't remember us ever mixing Spanish and Yiddish. I am fascinated by the phenomenon of Spanglish, the fact that English and Spanish intertwine, crossbreed, become one. This, to many, is horrendous. Either protect the one or protect the other, but don't mix them. And I wonder, why did we understand so clearly that Yiddish was here and Spanish was there? I have difficulty responding to my own question, but I do know that Yiddish was Yiddish and Spanish was Spanish, as if we had hemispheres in our brain that opened up in a particular moment or in space of the day, and they closed depending on where we moved. As time went by, there were two other languages that were decisive in my education. One was this presence of Hebrew that I see, as I was trying to describe to you, as coming from behind, because Yiddish was being protected by the Yiddishists, by the Bundists, by those that believed in Yiddish as an ideology. But Hebrew with Zionism was on the ascent, and at one point there was a clash between the two. And it was clear in the generation of my parents that Yiddish was the language that they had chosen, but practically the Jewish language needed also to be Hebrew. And so there were classes that were in Spanish, classes that were in Yiddish, and classes that began to be in Hebrew. And those classes had to do with Bible, but they also had to do with grammar. They had to do with Hebrew literature, and so on and so forth. So three languages coexisting with one another. And because we were members of the middle class in Mexico, because American foreign culture or American culture was already entering in a foreign way into Mexican culture, the amount of tourists that came from the United States was astonishing, that English started to filter in. And at some point, I took private classes, or my mother started to introduce some English to us. And eventually, English never became a solid language, but there were four languages in those spaces.